Now that we've completed the clawshot split and cleared the 2 Twilights, it is now time to turn our attention to accessing our bombs, the Morpheel fight, and completing Arbiter's grounds. As covered in the last video, I introduced this area as early late game, as this acts as the third quarter of the run. Although some of these splits are some of the shortest within the run, they each serve a purpose when it comes to collecting the bombs and items that will help us complete the game. When we ended last video, we had just cleared the 2 Twilight areas, spawning us within Lake Hylia. The next split focuses on gaining access to Snowpeak Temple, which contains the ball and chain, which we will need for later. However, before making our way to Snowpeak, we require to collect a bomb bag for the upcoming Morpheel and Zant fights. As we aren't collecting Zor armor during the run, bombs are a necessity due to their ability to restore oxygen if used correctly. To access our bomb bag, we make our way down from Zora's domain to Upper Zora's River. Here we complete a Howling Stone to later learn Ending Blow, which is the skill required to defeat Ganon at the end. By then defeating the messengers outside of Isa's cabin, we are given our first bomb bag as a loan from Isa. Due to this bomb bag being a loan, we are unable to die or save warp at any point, as the bomb bag will then be removed from our inventory. Instead, we use the time with our loan bag to gain access to a permanent bag from a Goron in Zora's domain. It's at this point the run can get confusing for new players, as we will enter in and out of Lakebed a few times. By using the Uku we previously exited Lakebed with, we can gain access to the entrance room of the temple once again. We empty the bomb bag into the water and refill it with a set of water bombs stored within a chest in the room. We then Uku back out of Lakebed and warp to Zora's domain. By sinking to the bottom, we can blow up a rock containing a Goron, which provides us with our permanent bomb bag needed for the run. We can then make our way to Snowpeak, gradually emptying our bomb bag along the way. When we work our way towards the bottom of Snowpeak's mountain, we will here perform a trick known as Map Glitch. This trick causes the game's loading area to glitch out a bit, allowing us to access areas we should previously not have been able to. Normally when running up the mountain, Midna will inform you that the snow is too strong and you will be required to turn back. However, due to Map Glitch, we are able to run up through the snow to work our way up the mountain. Map Glitch is completed by opening our map at the same frame as calling Midna. Generally, the easiest way for runners to complete this is through unplugging the controller, holding the inputs and replugging back in. After we have made our way to the top of the mountain, we will complete the Howling Stone near the top to reset Map Glitch, allowing us to access further areas. Players can then choose to skip the messenger fight and snowboard down through the blizzard, or defeat the messengers and have a sighted path down. At the bottom of the path, players will be able to enter Snowpeak for the ball and chain split. The ball and chain split is one of the shortest in the route, however can lose a lot of time if not done correctly. Players perform an LJA across a gap in the second room, before performing a claw shot through the roof to the next level. After working further forward, we are encountered by an ice wall. Here we can perform a clip as Wolf Link, clipping part of Link's body into the wall before transforming and performing a side hop or backflip to exit out. I will leave a link to FX's tutorial on this clip below if you would like to learn more. We must then perform Freezard Skip, which will provide us access to the Dark Hammer fight. By carefully bonking off the side of the Freezard, we can perform a jump as Wolfling to clip through the wrong side of the door, to then access the fight without defeating the Freezard. We then defeat Dark Hammer, grab the ball and chain and some 100 rupees laying around, before Ukuing back into Lakebed for the Morpheel fight. I could make an entire video dedicated to the Morpheel fight, as this is one of the most complex and difficult aspects of the entire run. Within my beginner's guide routing video, I discuss this as one of the key factors people will struggle with the non-Zor armor route, as this fight has heavy levels of RNG and large repercussions if you fail it. Before we enter the fight, we must knock down a pillar from the roof, and refill our bomb bag with the water bombs again conveniently located. We then perform the Lakebed Bosky skip before sinking our way down to the Morpheel fight. Morpheel at a high level requires manipulation of water bombs to restore our oxygen as needed. We then perform quick dismounts using our iron boots and claw shot to complete 3 cycles of attacks, collecting our first few shadow of the run. I will leave any resources about this fight that I find in the description if you would like to learn more. After exiting Lakebed, we then need to bring Midna back to Zelda's tower to return to full strength. The routing used in the split does not vary far from the casual route, as we make our way to Castle Town, then work our way through the sewers and across the rooftop. Small optimizations such as this small hop across to the first platform and fast bridge jump can be used to complete the section faster. Players will make their way to Zelda as they did during the second split of the run, and then be warped to Hyrule Field upon completion. After the MDH cutscene, players will make their way over to a small platform outside of the gates of Hyrule. Here players will find the Golden Wolf with the ending blow technique we located during our Enter Snowpeak segment. We will learn the trick from the wolf, warp to Lake Hylia, access Auru's memo from the top of the tower, and have fire send us to Gerudo Desert. Gaining access to the Bulblin camp is our next aim, as we are required to complete the next King Bulblin fight to access Arbiter's grounds. By performing map glitch once again, we can jump out of bounds underneath the Bulblin camp and activate the trigger for the fight. Players can activate this trigger through a long jump attack sequence from the entrance of the camp, or the more optimal access point through working their way into the hills on the border. Players can then defeat King Bulblin once again, escape the burning camp, and enter Arbiter's grounds. After entering the dungeon, we work our way through the first two rooms before being encountered by the Poes. Here, a player is encountered by 4 Poes, each of which carry a Poe soul required to open the main gate to access the rest of the dungeon. However, players are able to complete a trick known as Poe 1 Skip, which allows us to avoid the Poe in the main room of the dungeon and still open the door with only 3 souls. Here, players can access the west wing of the dungeon to perform an LJA into the sand. By sinking a little bit, players can climb and roll off the pillar stuck in the sand to grab a ledge on the platform ahead. This will provide the player with access to the 4th Poe without having to fight the previous 3. It is important to note that after our first Poe fight, we move a large box by one of the side paths to provide us access to a later Poe fight. Here we gain access to the Poe fight by going backwards through the dungeon and unlocking the door from the other side. After collecting the 3 souls, the fires will light in the main room and the main gate will be opened. Players will then hop through some quicksand, collect the boss key, and make their way through to the Death Sword fight. Death Sword can be defeated with a series of rhythmic slashes. However, it is also possible to complete the fight with a difficult trick known as Death Sword Skip. This trick manipulates Death Sword in a particular way to launch the player out of the arena and through to the spinner chest. This is done by using a precise angle and timing to launch Wolf Link with a charged Midna attack into the air as Death Sword flies around. I will leave resources for this below, however this is seen as one of the most complex tricks of the run, and is generally only considered by top level runners. By completing this fight through either method, we can then make our way through to the end of the hallway and access the spinner item in the chest. Our final segment of this video will include using our newly acquired spinner to defeat Stallord and exit Arbiter's grounds. As discussed in my first guide video, there has been a fairly recent discovery of a consistent setup to complete Stallord skip, which saves roughly 1.5 minutes over completing the fight. I will link a tutorial down for this skip below, but for the sake of this video, we will be covering it as if the fight will be completed. The first phase of the fight is fairly self-explanatory. We use the railings of the border to shoot ourselves with the spinner into the middle to attack Stallord 3 times, each time avoiding more Stall troopers that continue to spawn. After completing the 3rd attack, we must then resurrect Stallord for the second phase of the fight. A casual player in this phase must work their way around the central pillar on the spinner to make their way up to Stallord's head. Here they must jump back and forth avoiding attacks before jumping the spinner into Stallord to knock him to the floor. Runners can complete a more optimal version of the sequence by carefully timing our first use of the spinner. A player can catch up to Stallord much quicker than the casual route, knocking Stallord to the floor before it has a chance to run away. We can also perform a combination of spin attacks to complete the fight in one cycle, saving a large chunk of time over a casual strat. Players will then grab the heart container that spawns before exiting Arbiters through to the mirror chamber. That is where we will leave it for today's video. Now that we have completed this section, we are only left with City in the Sky, the Palace of Twilight, and Hyrule Castle for the rest of the run. These will be covered off in the next video, concluding this guide of the any % route. As always, if you have any further questions or anything you would like to check out on this route, please check me out on Twitch. I stream myself completing any % runs 4 to 5 times a week and will be able to clear up anything you have to ask there.